Have you ever wondered what really separates ordinary men from those who build unshakable financial empires? I will tell you, with all the serenity of someone who has lived through a century of battles, falls, and rises. The secret is not in luck, it is in the preparation of the mind, the discipline of the soul, and the patience of the eyes that see beyond the present. These 38 letters I wrote to my son were not mere words from a loving father. They were the condensation of decades of observation, mistakes, victories, and silent meditations before the Creator. They were not written to adorn a library, but to guide a mind in formation toward financial, emotional, and spiritual sovereignty. Today, you stand before that same manual. And I am here, as your personal mentor, to guide you through each layer of this knowledge. Because, just as I did with my own flesh and blood, I now do with you. I hand you the keys to the invisible empire that rules the visible world. First and foremost, understand one absolute truth. The starting point of your life does not determine your destination. There are those who are born at the bottom of the mountain, others at the top. But the Creator, in His justice, has given each one the ability to climb. It doesn't matter if today you are drowning in debt, lost in wrong choices, or haunted by past failures. All of this can be the fertile ground from which your greatest harvest will grow. I myself was not born surrounded by gold and privilege. My father, a wandering, unpredictable street vendor, was rarely around. It was alongside my mother, a woman of unshakable character, that I learned to control every penny and value every small financial seed planted. She taught me, even as a child, that waste is the silent killer of great fortunes. But there is a requirement. You will need to take absolute control of your inner life. Because the first battlefield where empires are formed or destroyed is invisible. It is your mind. Many desire wealth, but are slaves to their own emotions. Dominated by impulses, procrastination, irrational fears, and fleeting desires, they end up building sandcastles that collapse at the first storm. I assure you, self-control is the greatest power. Without it, no investment, no business, and no opportunity will last. How many people have I seen throughout my life lose entire empires because they couldn't control their emotions in the face of greed, fear, or arrogance? They confuse wealth with pride. I never have. Capital must be a servant, never a master. My capital worked while I kept my mind cool, calm, calculating the long term. While others threw themselves into the abyss of fragile opportunities, I waited. Because, listen carefully, there is an invisible force in waiting wisely for the right moment to act. You see, throughout my life, I have been accused of being cold, calculating, even ruthless. In reality, I just understood early on that emotions are like the wind. Sometimes they push you forward, sometimes they destroy you. I learned to navigate above them. I controlled my impulses so that capital could accumulate, reinvest, and grow like a sturdy oak tree, while others succumb to immediate pleasure. But don't confuse emotional control with a lack of passion. My passion has always been for the long term. Strategic patience is the art of planting oak trees, not flowers. While many sought quick and easy profits, I watched cycles, crises, and opportunities that only patient eyes can see. Now, listen carefully. The first letter I wrote to my son began by saying that he should not expect me to be his captain forever. And today I tell him the same thing. You are the only captain of your ship. My role is only to give you the maps. No one will navigate your life with the same precision that you can. There is no solid wealth built on irresponsible loans. Never go into debt to consume, only to multiply. Debt should be your last tool, not your first resource. Debt that does not generate production is a trap. Many want to look rich before they actually are. They flaunt what they do not yet have and pay for it with years of financial servitude. Invest in yourself before investing in any business. The greatest asset of an empire is not its buildings, stocks, or land. It is the mind that governs all of these. That is why the first capital I accumulated was knowledge. While many young people spent their first coins on pleasures, I wrote down every penny I earned and spent, practicing from an early age what today is called financial control. Now let's go further. Many ask, how can I guarantee that I will succeed? And I answer with the simplicity of great secrets. You attract what you believe is possible for you. Your mind is the magnet that draws circumstances. If you wake up every day with the inner decree that abundance is already coming your way, the universe itself begins to reorganize itself to fulfill your faith. But understand, the universe does not reward mere thought, but rather thought that transforms into disciplined action. Faith without work is illusion. Work without faith is exhaustion. But the combination of both creates the miracle of achievement. I know you have faced frustrations, accumulated debts, wrong choices, interrupted careers, broken relationships. I know. But I tell you, it's never too late to start over. Every morning, you wake up with the most valuable gift, today. What will you do with today? Will you let it slip through your fingers like water, or will you mold it like a potter molds clay? Now stop and think. Are you truly committed to your transformation? If your answer is a sincere yes, I want you to write it now in the comments section of this mentoring program. Today I begin my change. This is the first step to activating the inner strength that has been dormant. You have already taken the first step. Now it's time to understand the ground on which you will build your empire. Because wealth is not born solely from the desire to be rich. It is born from a clear and unshakable understanding of what money is, what work is, and above all, what time is. Many fail because they confuse money with power. Let me be brutally honest with you. Money is not power. Knowledge, applied with discipline and patience, that is true power. Money is only the visible fruit of invisible roots. And those roots are planted in the mind, watered by discipline, and protected by patience. Look at the world around you. How many seek the shortcut? How many jump from business to business like hungry locusts? They don't have the patience to cultivate. They just want to harvest. But I tell you with the certainty of someone who has built fortune upon fortune, a true empire is built in layers, like a cathedral, stone upon stone, brick upon brick. And each layer requires its time, its study, its silence. When I started my journey, I wasn't looking for quick gains. I was looking for control. Control over myself, control over variables, control over risks. I watched the market not as a hunter, but as a farmer. And so, when the storms came, and they always come, I remained standing, while many were swept away by despair. Do you want to win? Then you need to make a non-negotiable choice right now. You must abandon the addiction to immediacy. The modern world will offer you thousands of distractions, promises of quick money, instant gains, magic formulas. Run away from all of that as if you were running away from a fire. Because every easy path is actually a detour that takes you away from greatness. My son learned early on, what starts too fast ends too soon. And you, starting today, will be like the wise farmer who is not impressed by the rapid growth of weeds, but devotes his attention to the oak seed, which grows slowly, yes, but grows solid, and in the end becomes unshakable. And make no mistake, to do this, you will need to develop a quality that few possess, emotional resilience. Success does not belong to the smartest or the strongest, but to those who can stand firm when everyone else gives up. How many times in building Standard Oil did I face accusations, hate campaigns, political attacks, and desperate competitors? I watched them calmly, because I knew my foundation was solid. Now, I want you to understand a central principle of this mentoring. There is no scarcity in the world. There is scarcity in the minds of men. This scarcity mindset is what causes so many to give up, to act out of fear, to compete predatorily. But when you see the world through eyes of abundance, you understand that there is always room to build, innovate, and prosper. That's how, even in times of crisis and financial panic, I continued to expand my empire. Because I didn't compete with others, I competed with myself. The goal was never just to make money. The goal was always to become better, more disciplined, more efficient, more prepared. And as I improved, the financial rewards came as an inevitable consequence. Now stop for a moment and ask yourself, are you truly committed to becoming a better person? Or are you still looking for shortcuts to get money without personal transformation? There is no true wealth without inner growth. Money that comes before mental maturity is like water poured into trembling hands. It slips away and disappears. How many people have you seen get rich quickly and lose everything in a short time? They didn't learn the most important lesson. Money only stays in the hands of those who are ready to manage it. That's why I insisted so much with my son. Protect your mind. Discipline your thoughts. Surround yourself with wise men. Never accept advice from those who have failed. I learned this early on, and now you are learning it too. Your associations define your destiny. Surround yourself with people who think bigger, who have a long-term vision, who control their emotions. Run away from the mediocre, the negative, the hasty. My dear apprentice, I now want to teach you one of the greatest invisible laws of the financial universe. Everything you plant grows. Everything you repeat becomes stronger. If you plant debt, you will grow debt. If you plant disorder, you will reap chaos. But if you plant discipline, focus, and continuous learning, your harvest will be abundant and sustainable. I planted every day. I read, studied, and wrote down every penny. I turned saving into a sacred ritual. While others despised small amounts, I revered them, because I knew that every penny is a seed of greatness when well managed. Now, I ask you, how have you treated the little you have? Do you despise it, believing that only large amounts matter? Or do you honor it, knowing that this is how you build something great? Most men want to accumulate millions before learning how to manage hundreds. And that is why they never reach millions. Remember, it is not the size of your initial capital that defines the size of your future fortune. It is the size of your mindset regarding the capital you have today. Your mind is the real empire. From now on, it can begin to bear the first fruits of this transformation. The third pillar of true wealth is not in numbers, but in purpose. Without a higher purpose, money becomes poison. It feeds the ego, destroys families, breeds arrogance, and leads to ruin. How many have I seen over the years become prisoners of their own fortunes because they accumulated money without a mission? Wealth, when not directed toward a higher purpose, turns man into a slave to his whims. From the beginning of my journey, I always understood that my job was not just to accumulate capital, but to manage a legacy that would transcend my existence. That is why every decision I made, every expansion, every negotiation, every sacrifice was guided by something higher. The desire to create an empire that would serve, generate work, progress, and stability for future generations. You need to be absolutely clear about why you want to get rich. If your only desire is personal comfort, you will not be able to bear the weight of the journey. The path to building solid wealth requires sacrifice, long periods of silence, constant study, unwavering patience, and above all, an inner strength sustained by a clear and non-negotiable purpose. That is why I insisted so much with my son. Before you want more, learn to serve more. Money is the reward for those who solve problems, create value, and improve the lives of others. No one prospers in the long run without first multiplying the well-being of others. Many confuse ambition with greed. Greed is blind, impulsive, short-sighted. True ambition is calm, patient, focused. Greed devours the fruit before harvest, while ambition nourishes the roots with patience, knowing that the tree will blossom in due time. Now I will tell you one of the hardest truths of this journey. Most people will never become rich because they cannot stand the silence of waiting. They give up the day before. They break their discipline in the last few meters, and that is where empires are formed, in the power to remain steadfast while everyone else has abandoned the field. Notice how I dealt with crises. While crowds sold everything in panic, I bought quietly, prepared by my accumulated reserves, because I learned not to react emotionally to the tides. For those who are prepared, Crisis is not tragedy. It is opportunity. And how do you prepare to take advantage of crises? Simple. Start today doing what few do. Save aggressively. Reduce the superfluous. Increase your liquidity. Learn every day. Master your industry. Study the market with the eyes of a patient hunter. I have never been a slave to luxury. Even when my wealth was beyond imagination, I maintained simple habits. Simplicity protects man from himself. It prevents the ego from sabotaging the slow and solid construction that takes decades to build. Many want the pleasures of wealth before they are ready for its responsibilities. They want to flaunt what they don't have. They want applause for what they haven't yet built. And in doing so, they delay or destroy their true journey to prosperity. Be discreet. Avoid showing off. Capital likes silence. Great fortunes are made in the shadows and only appear when they can no longer be knocked down. While everyone else is talking, you work in silence. While many are distracted by appearances, you lay invisible, deep, solid foundations. Now pay close attention to what I am about to tell you. Do not seek approval. Do not seek applause. Do not wait for external encouragement. Your commitment is to your purpose, to your legacy, to the Creator who gave you talents to be multiplied. It is in this silent intimacy with your own mission that unbreakable strength is formed. The modern world, with its social networks, teaches the opposite: show off, compare, boast. But true empire builders do the opposite. They plant in the hidden and reap in eternity. And don't confuse humility with weakness. Humility protects. Vanity destroys. I have always preferred to be underestimated. While many called me reserved, calculating, or even cold, I remained steadfast, growing silently, like an underground river that flows even when no one sees it. Now, at this moment, I want to invite you to make an inner commitment. Are you ready for true building? Are you ready to give up the need to show off, to rush, to seek validation? If your answer is sincere, if your soul says yes, then write it right now in the comments. This is my time of blessings. This is not a pretty phrase. It is an inner decree, a mental milestone. The activation of a new cycle of discipline, patience, and self-control. From here, our journey goes even deeper. Now we will enter the most strategic core of wealth building, where money actually starts working for you while you build your true invisible empire. Until now, we have worked on your mental, emotional, and spiritual foundation. Now, finally, we enter the realm where money ceases to be the fruit of physical effort and becomes the fruit of strategic thinking and the application of immutable principles of prosperity. I want you to keep these next words as an iron law. Tatiyu. Truly wealthy are those who have learned to turn time and capital into allies. You need to make money work with the same discipline you have cultivated within yourself. Because the first big trap for those who get rich quickly is this: they remain slaves to work. They have merely exchanged salaries for businesses, but they still live chained to the clock. That is not freedom. Freedom is when your capital works. While you think, while you sleep, while you study, while you live. And that's where the great invisible gears come in. Passive sources of income. Look at how I built my career. From the beginning, every dollar I had left over was not spent on ephemeral pleasures. It was reinvested. Every profit from Standard Oil generated new investments, new businesses, new assets that continued to grow even in my absence. Because I understood this secret early on, money is not meant to be spent. It is meant to be multiplied. People fail because when they finally achieve some profit, they give in to the temptation to raise their standard of consumption instead of raising their standard of investment. And so they spend their entire lives working, earning, spending, and returning to square one. They are poor, rich people, surrounded by possessions but empty of solid assets. Starting today, you must make a non-negotiable commitment to live below your earning standard and above your investment standard. With every new income, every unexpected bonus, every raise, your thought should be automatic. How can I make this capital reproduce itself? The average person asks, what can I buy with this money? The empire builder asks, what can this money build for me? Herein lies the essence of my growth philosophy. But it's not just about blindly reinvesting. This is where the element that separates those who build fortresses from those who merely pile up sandcastles comes in. Continuous strategic study. For years, I studied the oil market obsessively. I understood every detail: extraction, transportation, refining, distribution, logistics costs, competition, consumer trends, geopolitical risks. It wasn't capital that made me strong. It was mastery of knowledge, and the more I knew, the lower the risk. The ignorant call this luck. But luck, my dear apprentice, is the combination of preparation and opportunity. You must choose a field, a sector, an area that you can study in such depth that it becomes impossible for anyone to know more than you. Absolute mastery of a field creates immortal fortunes, and when that solid foundation of knowledge is combined with your patient capital, what the world calls the miracle of exponential growth occurs. Capital begins to generate capital. Time becomes your ally, and what seemed distant approaches with silent speed. But you need to be alert to another invisible poison at this stage: the financial ego. When the first big gains come, when the numbers start to exceed your old benchmarks, you will be tested, not financially, but spiritually. Vanity will call you to the stage. Invitations to show off will come from all sides. Comparisons with other men will tempt you daily. But always remember, those who spend to prove they have won reveal that they are still slaves to the need for validation. I have always preferred to be underestimated than envied. While my competitors bought visible mansions, I expanded invisible assets. While they traveled ostentatiously, I reinvested in new rail lines, new distribution routes, new oil reserves, new markets. That is the difference between those who build solid empires. Now, listen carefully to what I am about to reveal to you, because few understand this law. Money is energy, and like all energy, it must be channeled with order and purpose. Financial disorder, lack of planning, and excessive consumption are like holes in the reservoir of this energy. No matter how much comes in, it will always leak out. But when you discipline your financial life with clarity of purpose, long-term planning, and humility in the face of numbers, capital begins to accumulate at an almost frightening rate. You begin to experience what I call the invisible curve of multiplication. At first, the growth is imperceptible. But after a few years of strategic patience, the numbers begin to grow like an avalanche. The world will only see this growth at the end, but the real secret will be hidden in the discipline of the early years, exactly the point where most people give up because they think it's too slow. So now I want you to think deeply. Do you have the courage to live invisible years in order to reap visible decades? If your answer is sincere, then write it now in the comments. It's never too late to start over. This will be your commitment to the long game. To true, solid, indestructible construction. We are moving forward, and from here on out, we will begin to refine the final principles, where money finds its true spiritual mission, and the financial empire becomes an eternal legacy. So far, you have learned how to lay the visible and invisible foundations of your financial empire. But what sets the builder apart from a mere money hoarder is the understanding that wealth is not an end in itself, but a tool in the service of an eternal purpose. Money alone does not bring peace. Do not confuse financial stability with inner stability. How many billionaires have I seen lose their souls in the emptiness of excess? They had everything and possessed nothing. Because they did not understand what I understood early on. Wealth that does not serve others rots within those who carry it. During the years of Standard Oil's growth, even as I expanded the business, I was already thinking about what would transcend my earthly life. I did not want to be remembered only as the man who accumulated money, but as the one who knew how to use prosperity as a tool for transformation. So as my wealth grew, I expanded my commitments to philanthropy, medical research, universities, and institutions that uplifted other men and women. True wealth carries with it responsibility. Mind you, I'm not talking about public handouts to feed the vanity of being applauded. I am talking about deep investments in intelligence, science, health, and education. I am talking about building platforms that would sustain future generations and continue to bear fruit long after my bones have returned to dust. That is the true mission of empire, to plant seeds that will provide shade for people you will never know. But to get to this point, there is something you need to purify within yourself: the ego of possession. Money is not yours. Listen carefully. It is not yours. It is only under your temporary administration. You are the steward, not the owner. And the sooner you understand this truth, the lighter your journey will be, and the further your construction will go. The true billionaire, the one who builds something that transcends his own existence, is not the man who merely accumulates figures. He is the man who understands his role as a servant of the eternal purpose. You can call this purpose a mission, a legacy, a spiritual calling. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you carry it within you with the seriousness of someone who has received a direct order from something higher. Now look around you. How many people live lost, collecting objects, possessions, titles, and never experience the fullness of soul that only comes when your wealth begins to bless others? I built hospitals, universities, research centers, because I understood that true glory is not in displaying wealth, but in multiplying good through it. No wealth lasts if it does not find its usefulness beyond itself. Therefore, I ask you, even if you are taking your first steps on this journey, establish in your heart a commitment to be a wise steward of everything the Creator places in your hands. Be faithful in the little things, and much will come. If you want to receive more, first ask yourself, am I managing with excellence what has already been entrusted to me? Do not ask for expansion if you still waste small resources. Do not cry out for abundance if you still mistreat small results. Life tests man in small things so that it can then release him into great things. So, it was with me, and so it will be with you. But remember, everything I am teaching you requires, above all, relentless inner discipline. Because money will come. It will come. It always comes to those who apply the invisible laws of patience, strategy, and purpose. But along with it will come temptations, easy comfort, the search for recognition, pride disguised as deserving, vanity masked as celebration of achievements, and at that point, many fall. Therefore, with every step you take, bend the knee of humility. The strength of an empire is not in what it accumulates. It is in what it can manage without losing its essence. Now I want you to visualize a distant future. Years ahead, your family enjoying the security built by your vision. Institutions built with your name, benefiting thousands. Young people being educated with resources originating from the capital you wisely planted. Future generations blessed by seeds you sowed in silence, with discipline, courage, and purpose. This, my apprentice, is the true definition of wealth. Wealth is freedom, inner peace, security for your descendants, and transformation for your community. Now, at this very moment, I want you to make another public commitment to your own journey. Write in the comments right now, I am ready to serve with my wealth. Because serving is the true gateway to solid, unshakable prosperity, our journey is nearing its conclusion. In the next section, we will reveal the final point of this mentoring program, the level where the empire no longer depends on you, and, even when you are silent, your work continues to speak. When the empire reaches true maturity, a new phenomenon begins to occur. It begins to exist without the constant need for your active force. The self-sustaining empire. This is the true pinnacle of wealth creation. When capital has multiplied so robustly, structures have been so well designed, systems so well organized, and the right people positioned in strategic places, that the flow of prosperity follows its natural course, even when the creator is no longer active. This is the point where money, institutions, and projects move on their own, like rivers following their course, nourished by invisible springs planted decades earlier. Look at what I've done throughout my life. Every time a new branch of Standard Oil was formed, I didn't just think about the present expansion. I asked myself, how will this branch work in 30, 50, 100 years? Because ordinary men build for the next season. True titans build for posterity. The secret here, and pay close attention, lies in succession. Many build fortunes but destroy empires because they fail to prepare capable successors. That is why I prepared my own son to understand that managing wealth is, above all, managing emotions, responsibilities, and purposes. Don't make the mistake of thinking that good executives are enough. No. You need to train men with values, with vision, with a spirit of moral responsibility toward wealth. Without this inner training, successors are lost, and the empire returns to the dust from whence it came. That is why I say to you, start now to build not only your businesses, but also those who will one day continue to expand them. Whether they are your children, partners, or disciples, prepare men and women with non-negotiable principles. And here comes what few can sustain, the spirit of quiet continuity. Because a mature empire does not shout. It does not need your daily presence. It moves through invisible gears planted decades earlier. Look at the great families that have spanned generations and you will understand this clearly. The secret is not fortune, it is culture. The culture of management, the culture of discipline, the culture of simplicity, even in the face of abundance. The culture of serving, not showing off. The culture of reinvesting, not consuming. This cultural code is the true, invisible gold of great empires. But I want to go even deeper with you now that your mind has traveled this entire path of maturation. The empire is not yours. The empire, in the end, is an extension of the work that the Creator entrusted to you while you walked on this earth. The most you can do, while you breathe, is to multiply and manage this mission with fear and wisdom. And when the time comes, and it always does, your greatest peace will not be in the size of your fortune, but in the certainty that your work will continue to serve, grow, and bless lives even when your eyes no longer open with the morning sun. That is solid wealth, the kind that stands the test of time, the kind that no economic collapse can destroy because it is sustained by eternal values. Now, my apprentice, look back and see everything we have built in these minutes of our mentoring. You have understood that your origin does not define your destiny. You have learned the power of emotional mastery and strategic patience. You have understood that purpose is superior to blind accumulation. You have been trained to plant for invisible decades and reap solid abundance. And finally, you now see that the true empire does not die with its creator. It flourishes as a work of eternity. And at this moment, I give you the last call of our journey. Stand up. Take your place in the select circle of empire builders. But remember, true glory is not in fame, but in silent continuity. Now write, publicly sealing the final pact of your transformation. Now it is my turn to act with wisdom, because from this moment on, there are no more excuses, no more shortcuts, no more distractions. There is only the solid path, the invisible path of those who build real empires. Welcome to the group of the few who truly understand. Now it's your turn to act wisely. Sign up and share this video with everyone who is ready for the solid path to true wealth.